The broadcast came at 0300 hours, Earth Standard Time. Every screen across every human colony, from the gleaming arcologies of New Geneva to the dusty mining rigs of Kepler Station, flickered to the same image, the leathery, eight-eyed face of Emperor Kael'zer, ruler of the Velthari Dominion, surrounded by the gilded insignia of a civilization that had existed when humanity was still drawing animals on cave walls. His voice was translated in real time, cold and ceremonial, the way a judge reads a death sentence. The Velthari Dominion hereby declares the accord of eternal stillness null and void. 10,000 years of peace between our species ends at this hour. Humanity will submit. Or humanity will be erased. The broadcast cut to black. For exactly 4 seconds, the galaxy held its breath. Then, in the war room of UNDF flagship Prometheus, Admiral Darian Voss leaned back in his chair, looked at the frozen screen, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, smiled. Lieutenant Joe was the first to speak. She was young, sharp-eyed, her fingers already dancing across the tactical overlay. "Sir, the Velthari Forward Fleet, we're tracking 312 capital ships crossing the Meridian Line. Their weapons are hot." "I can see that," Voss said calmly, reaching for his coffee. "Admiral," said Commander Me, head of strategic intelligence, his voice unusually tight. "Their fleet tonnage outmasses ours in this sector by a factor of 6. Protocol dictates we request emergency reinforcement before?" "Protocol," Voss interrupted pleasantly, "was written by people who'd never actually met the Velthari." He took a sip. "Pull up the Calder margin analysis. The one New York finished last month." Dr. New York, civilian advisor, xenostrategist, and the most relentlessly calm person on the ship, pulled up her report on the central holoscreen. It was 70 pages of dense notation and probability modeling. She had spent 11 months writing it. No one had read it. She suspected Voss had read it 17 times. "New York," Voss said, "give us the short version." She cleared her throat. "The Velthari have not fought a major war in 6,000 years. Their military doctrine is ceremonial. Their weapons are powerful, but their targeting systems use architecture from an era before humans discovered bronze. Their crews train for parades, not combat." She paused. "And they do not know what we have been doing for the last decade." The room was quiet. Ensign Day, barely 2 years out of the academy, raised a careful hand. "Sir, what have we been doing for the last decade?" Voss set down his coffee. "Learning. The Velthari called their first strike the Thunder of Kael'zer's Will. It was, objectively, spectacular. 400 plasma lances fired in synchronized formation, a cascade of violet light that would have vaporized anything that had existed in that corridor of space 10 years ago. The Prometheus wasn't there. Neither were the 47 human frigates that had been there a moment before. Captain High of Strike Group 7 came over the comm, her voice carrying the particular cheerfulness of someone who is trained for exactly this moment. Predictive slip complete. All ships nominal. We are behind their formation, Admiral. Awaiting your word." Voss looked at Lieutenant Joe. "Target their command array. Surgical. Surgical it is." The human fleet moved like water, not in the rigid geometric formations the Velthari had spent centuries perfecting, but fluidly, adaptively, each ship feeding targeting data to every other ship in real time through quantum mesh architecture the Velthari had dismissed as theoretically impossible. They had dismissed it because it was theoretically impossible, under their physics models, which humans had quietly disproven 40 years ago and then politely never mentioned. In the Velthari command vessel, the Eternal Sovereign, 300 officers were watching their tactical screens with escalating alarm. Admiral Wa of the 1st Dominion Fleet, a veteran of 6,000 years of absolute strategic dominance in simulations, had never seen a fleet move like this. Ships were not supposed to move like this. It violated doctrine. It violated sense. "Where are they?" he demanded. "Where are they going?" No one had an answer. The human strike hit the Velthari command array not like a hammer but like a scalpel, 17 precise cuts, each one chosen by an AI system that had spent 11 years modeling Velthari ship construction from treaty inspection data. Not to destroy. To blind. To deaf. To isolate. In 9 seconds, the Velthari forward fleet lost all coordinated communication. In 12 seconds, they lost targeting sync. In 18 seconds, 312 capital ships, each individually powerful enough to glass a city, were alone in the dark, deaf and directionless, surrounded by a human fleet that could see everything. Emperor Kael'zer received the battle report in fragments. Then silence. Then more silence. His supreme warlord, a being who had never once used the word impossible, entered the throne room and said, very quietly, "The human fleet has encircled the entire forward formation. They are not firing, your eternal magnificence. They appear to be waiting." Waiting, Kael'zer repeated. "For you, we believe." The calm request came through 12 minutes after the encirclement was complete. It was from one vessel. UNDF Prometheus. One human. Admiral Darian Voss. Kael'zer accepted. The Admiral appeared on screen. He looked exactly as Kael'zer had expected a human warlord to look: older, tired around the eyes, utterly ordinary in the way that small creatures sometimes were before they did something inexplicable. He was holding a coffee cup. "Emperor Kael'zer," Voss said pleasantly. "Nice broadcast. Very dramatic. My communications officer me was particularly impressed by the lighting." Kael'zer's 8 eyes narrowed. "You dare." "I want to be clear about something," Voss continued, setting the cup down. "We are not going to destroy your fleet. We could. I want you to know that we genuinely could, and not just today, in this sector. Our models show an 87% probability of total Velthari military collapse within 14 months if we choose that path." He glanced briefly at New York, who nodded confirmation. "But we're not going to do that." "Then what do you want?" Kael'zer asked, and hated how the question sounded. "I want you to understand something before we release your ships." Voss leaned forward slightly. "The 10,000-year peace? We did not maintain it because we were afraid of you. We maintained it because we were busy. We had a civilization to build. Sciences to develop. Problems to solve. We did not think about you very much at all, if I'm being honest." The silence from the throne room was absolute. "What you called peace," Voss said, "we called Tuesday." He let that sit. "Your fleet is intact. Your crews are unharmed. We are going to release the communications blackout in approximately 3 minutes. I recommend you use that time to think very carefully about what comes next." A pause. "We are not an enemy you want. We are not an enemy you can afford. But we could be something far more valuable, if you're interested." Another pause, and then, almost gently, "We've been holding some theories about faster-than-light travel that your physicists will find very interesting. Consider it a gesture of good faith." He smiled, the same small, calm smile that had appeared on his face 4 seconds after the broadcast. Admiral Voss out. In the war room, after the channel closed, Ensign Day exhaled a breath he'd been holding for approximately 11 minutes. Captain High's voice came over the comm, dry as Martian sand. "Did he just offer them FTL research after winning?" "He did," said Lieutenant Joe. "That's insane." "That's the Admiral," said New York, already closing her report. Voss picked up his coffee again. It had gone cold. He drank it anyway, looking at the tactical screen where 312 Velthari capital ships sat in perfect, helpless stillness, surrounded and humbled and alive. 10,000 years of peace ended. And humanity, as it had always done when underestimated, when cornered, when written off, had simply adapted. Had learned. Had waited. And had smirked.